بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. From the many books that you have read, how many authors know you by your name? The one book, the Book of Allah, it is such a book which when a person reads it and fulfills the haqq of it, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remembers this person. So there's such a noor in this Quran. This noor emanates and it reaches the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we should be grateful to Allah that we are privileged just to be able to read the Quran, to have the nuskha of Quran, and there are no laws which forbids one from reading the Quran. So this is a great ni'mah. The shukr would be to read this Quran and not only reading it but see the requirements. Am I reading the Quran with tajweed? Do I know the rules of waqf? Then we've memorized surah of Quran. Are we happy for the last 20, 30 years, whatever surah I know, I'm fine with that? Or there's shauq and ambition to learn more surah. So we shouldn't restrict it. Make a niyyah to become a hafiz. Anybody in your family, are they huffaz? Are your children huffaz? To be resurrected on the day of Qiyamah as a parent of a hafiz. Then not only hifz of the Quran but understanding the Quran as well. Understanding each verse of the Quran and taking time out to sit in the company of the ulema, the mufassirin, and see what are they saying with regards to Quran and hadith. Likewise, a person is a hafiz of Quran should not suffice with that, but to understand the meaning of the Quran, to understand the tafsir of the Quran. A person can become an alim, make dua that Allah gives him this tawfiq. Everything is a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So likewise, a person cannot become an alim for whatever reasons, but are your children ulema, the progeny of ulema? So these are important aspects, and Quran, like how Deen comes with responsibility, being a mu'min comes with a responsibility, Quran also comes with responsibilities, but we need to build this himmat and take the step forward. Like Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanwi used to say, that a person should build this courage to make effort. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make the person successful. Like a father who's seen a child walking and he's learning to walk, then as the child is close to falling, the father is standing there waiting for him to fall and catch him. Why? Because the father wants the child to walk and he wants to be there for the child, but the child needs to take the step forward. And sometimes he'll grab the child, take him on his lap. Sometimes if he takes a few extra steps, he'll give him a lollipop, etc. So like how the father desires the child to walk, it needs effort. Same way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to see the effort. But Maulana Thanwi explains, we are not prepared to move from our positions. We're not ready to make any effort. So when you make effort in the right direction, sit in the company of the Ahlullah, in the ulama, the mashayikh, those that have a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can get an ordinary person on the street who's a electrician and tell him my power is down. He will not be able to contact it. He will not be able to connect it no matter what the situation is, unless he has a connection with the power utility. Why? Because the power is coming from there and they've cut you off. The line is cut. So if you know somebody inside and you find the problem and you make the efforts, the correct efforts, then the connection will come. And then you'll have a direct power line. You don't need via anybody else. So for this connection with Allah subhanahu also, we need the Aarifin. Like it was said about the Aarifin, Hammul Aarifi Athana wa Hammul Zahidi Ad-Dua. Hammul Aarifi Athana. The grief of the one who recognizes Allah is praise. وَهَمُّ الزَّاهِدِ الدُّعَاء. while the grief of an ascetic is dua. Why? What's the difference? لأن هم العارف ربه وهم الزاهد نفسه. The objective of an Aarif is Allah. Person who has recognized Allah, their motive, their movement is solely only for Allah. While a person who is a Zahid, an aesthetic, it's himself. For example, a Aarif is not intending thawab, not intending Jannah. That's the fringe benefits. Whereas a Zahid, he wants the thawab, he wants the Jannah. So the ulama have explained al-farq bayna man hammuhu al-hur wa man hammuhu raf'u sutur. There's a difference. One of them wants the hurs and one of them wants the parda between them and Allah to be lifted. So this real fikr will come in the hearts when we spend time with the Arifin, those who have recognized Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will teach us the adab of love, like the riwayat la saghirata mal israr wa la kabirata mal istighfar, that when a person is perpetual and consistent on guna, then even that saghira is no more saghira. Whereas a person committed a kabira sin, but he made istighfar, he remembered, then that is more valuable, because tawbah has the power to delete everything. So a person to get this haqa'iq of the journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they need to spend time with Ahlullah, the friends of Allah. Likewise, sit in the company of the ulama haq, those who have been introduced to Allah. Somebody who's the minister, the king knows him, he can introduce you to the king because they're a minister. So somebody who has been introduced to Allah can introduce you to Allah. So how we can draw this nur from the Quran? See the effects of the nur. What's the sign of these ulama haq? ينبغي لحامل القرآن. That Abdullah ibn Masood used to say that the qualities, it is behoving of the bearer of the Quran, أن يعرف بليله إذا الناس نائمون. He will be recognized by spending his nights in ibadah. We will recognize him in the darkness of the night while others are sleeping. وبنهار إذا الناس مفطرون. You will recognize him by his fasting while others are feasting. And you will recognize him by his taqwa while others are engaged in sin and ma'asiyah. وبخشوعه إذا الناس يختالون. Recognize him by his humility while other people are arrogant. وبحزنه إذا الناس يفرحون. Will recognize him by his concern, his grief, while others are wasting their time engaged in merrymaking. His grief for amal, his grief for the hidayat of mankind, his grief for preparation for death, his grief for hisab kitab on a day of qiyamah. وببكائه إذا الناس يضحكون. He will be recognized by his tears while others are laughing. وبصمته إذا الناس يخلطون. We will recognize him by silence while others are engaged in useless speech, useless conversations. لا يعني. وينبغي لحامل القرآن أن يكون باكيا مهزونا حليما حكيما سكيتا. It is necessary for a person of the Quran to be tearful, to have this grief, to be persevering, to be wise, to be silent, not rowdy, to be dignified. ولا ينبغي لحامل القرآن أن يكون صخابا ولا سياها ولا حديدا. He is not one who is very loudmouth, rowdy, rude and hard-hearted. So these Ahlullah, these ulama, these people of the Quran, we need to look for them and search for them if we have to exhaust all our avenues, because these are the guides, these are the shining lanterns, these are the stars, these are the lighthouses for our guidance. So that guidance, so this deen, if we look at the people of the dunya, they do their dunya properly, specifically detailed outline, plans, books, standards, how organized, how systematic they are in their dunya. We should ask ourselves, how organized are we with our deen? Simple thing like my will, is it in order? Make sure I've got all the last details so that the inheritors will not be deprived and I will not deprive myself of Jannah. Likewise, qada umri, have I calculated? So all these are important things. Haji Bhai Padia used to say that the people of dunya, the disbelievers, have made so much effort on dunya that they've made our prison a Jannah. This world is a prison for the believers. They've made it a paradise. We who have been sent for the guidance of mankind, to see that every person on earth is guided to the straight path, is guided to Allah, to find his creator, so that when he dies he is saved from the difficulties and turmoil, and when he's alive as well he maximizes on the short life. He said they've made our prison a paradise. We haven't even made the hellfire a paradise. That's what we're being created for. So sometimes a person, shaitan deceives a person to that level where he thinks so he's doing deen and he's progressing, but he's actually retrogressing and he's causing more harm and more nuqsan. So we need to be very particular. They say there was a pious person who was hospitalized and he was close to his death. So his family at the hospital were worried what to do, and they don't know if he's going to die. So he said, call Maulana and let him read some wazaif and du'as, etc. So Maulana came to the hospital, and as he came and he stood by the bedside of the patient, his situation continued to deteriorate. And as this was happening, then he frantically motion signaled for a piece of paper, for a pen to write on. So the priest seen him, so he took out his pen and paper and he gave it to this patient and he scribbled a note. So he finished writing. As he finished, he passed away. So the scholar then didn't read the note. He just left it, and obviously the family was traumatized. He had passed away. He said, let's read some wazaif, etc., do some dua, and let the family come in terms with this loss. So as they were preparing for their loss, and now it was time, they finished all their wazaif, they were leaving. He said, I think so it's time now that we read his last note. It was probably something which meant a lot to him. So let's see what he had to say. So the scholar opened the piece of paper and read it aloud. Hey you standing on my oxygen tube. Hey you're standing on my oxygen tube. So sometimes we think so we're doing good, but the nuqsan and the harms are greater. So this comes through ta'aleem, and through the sahbah, through this company, through ta'aleem, ilm, the knowledge of deen, and ilm haqq. A lot of people are seeking knowledge, but not the ilm haqq. So Quran is noor. Am I attracted to this noor? Have I seen this noor? How much, when you love something, you spend a lot of time on it. When you love somebody, you spend a lot of time on them. If we love Allah and the book of Allah, how much time are we spending on it? How much love for this book of Noor? They said it was the practice of Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh, that he used to kiss the Quran and say, Ahdu Rabbi wa manshuru Rabbi Azza wa Jal. The promise of my Allah, the promise of my Rabb, and the rules and regulations of my Rabb. It is the laws of my Allah. It is beloved. So when the Hakim, the commander, is beloved, does the commanded become beloved? So the command for it to become beloved, we have to love the commander first, who is giving us instructions. So when a person has this love, Mufti Shafee Rahmatullahi also used to kiss the Quran before reciting it, place it on his eyes, place it against his heart, and say also, Ahdu Rabbi wa Manshuru Rabbi Azza wa Jal. So these were our akabir, our mashayikh, who had the awe of the Quran. They had the noor of the Quran in their hearts. They said about Hazrat Abu Jafar Yazid Ibne Qa'qa' rahmatullahi alayhi, after his demise, on his chest they noticed something like the page of a Quran. They noticed something like a page of the Quran. People were baffled and they asked the scholar, and they said that it was the result of the noor of the Quran tilawat which he used to make. He used to make so much tilawat of Quran that was visible. Likewise, Imam Shu'bah rahmatullahi alayhi, he made 24,000 khatams during his lifetime. And a noor, a celestial light, would emanate from his chest. People thought so that he was suffering from leprosy. But only later did people realize that it was the noor due to his relationship with the Quran. That noor was physically visible. It was physically, practically visible. Imam Nafi rahmatullahi alayhi was one of the 10 famous imams of Qira'ah, and when he spoke or recited Quran, the fragrance of musk would come from his mouth. So people would ask him that, what itar have you applied that we are smelling this fragrance? He said, let alone using itar, I do not even go close to it. The fact and the truth is that I saw Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam in a dream, and he was reciting into my mouth. From that moment onwards, my mouth gives off this fragrance. Somebody told him once that, Shaykh, your face is so handsome and your character is so noble. Then he replied, why should it not be so? Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam made musafa with me in my dream, and then I recited Quran to him. So these are imma. Look at what their ma'mul was. He taught qira'ah for 70 years. And he was the Imam of Masjid al-Nabawi for 60 years. For 60 years. Somebody once asked Imam Malik rahimahullah regarding Surah Fatiha. So a masla with regards to that. So he directed him to Shaykh Nafi'. And he said questions should be posed to experts in the field of Qira'ah. Imam Nafi' is the Imam of people. He's the Imam of people. And he passed away at the age of around 90 years, buried in Jannatul Baqi. So, am I amongst the category of those people of the Quran? Has this Quran really entered my life and entered my heart? So, Kama tudin tudan ad-dunya mazra'utul akhirah. How much preparations are we making? All the different occasions. The day of Jummah has come. Have I taken the barakah and the blessings? The month of Ramadan has come. Have I taken the barakah and the blessings? All opportunities for us. So what are we planting? If you plant honesty, you will reap trust. If you plant goodness, you will reap friends. If you plant humility, you will reap greatness. If you plant perseverance, you will reap victory. If you plant consideration, you will reap harmony. If you plant hard work, you will reap success. If you plant forgiveness, you will reap reconciliation. If you plant openness, you will reap intimacy. If you plant patience, you will reap improvements. If you plant faith, iman, yaqeen, you will reap the qudrat of Allah, the unseen help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on the converse, if you plant dishonesty, you will reap distrust. If you plant selfishness, you will reap loneliness. If you plant pride, you will reap destruction. If you plant envy, you will reap trouble. If you plant laziness, you will reap stagnation. If you plant bitterness, you will reap isolation. If you plant greed, you will reap loss. If you plant gossip, you will reap enemies. If you plant worries, you will reap wrinkles. If you plant guna and sin, masiyat, you will reap weeds and punishment. If you plant the Quran, you will reap noor and light. Have I planted Deen and Quran in my life? That's the golden question. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq of making amal. The amal for today is ما من أحد يتوضأ فيحسن الوضوء, to make wudu but to perfect it. ويصلي ركعتين, and to perform 2 rakat salat, يقبل بقلبه ووجهه عليهما, with total devotion and humility, إلا وجبت له الجنة, except what Jannah becomes wajib. So to have the habit of, after making wudu, the 2 rakat salah, which some ulama have categorized as تحية الوضوء وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.